Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
AB Supply, this is Richard.
Hi, Richard. It's Cory. How are you today?
Good, yourself?
I'm hanging in there, doing pretty good. Fighting off a little sore throat, but, feeling cheery and festive. All right.
Yeah.
So I usually just hand off exit device calls. I know it's a lot for me to chew on, but I figure I got to start somewhere. So I know, like I mentioned in the little text, I know I made some errors on handing exit devices last year, so I want to vaguely touch on that. But mainly differences, cylinder dogging, specifically in concealed vertical rod. If those are convertible, if someone wants to do that, what's involved. And I guess that's enough to chew on to get started. I'm sure you'll spark some more questions as we're going.
Yeah, so the thing is, so there are 4 ways to hand a door, and that's going to be, very possibly a different conversation. But
Okay.
to just put it into context for right now, this is a handing chart that I drew when I was 20. Literally.
Okay.
So, yeah, I made that in a piece of software called Arts and Letters. It was the first graphics program I had ever used on my 486 DX.
Sorry, I obviously had a 486. That was a gut felt chuckle. Yes, I have one of those too.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, that was a serious upgrade to where I started. And so there are 4 ways to hand a door in our industry. That doesn't mean that we look down our nose at people that use different terminology. We just have to know what they mean. So you got left hand and right hand, and by virtue of those 2 definitions, the door swings in, always.
Right.
Then you've got left hand reverse and right hand reverse, and by definition, the door always swings out. So the trick question is, with an exit device, could you ever have a left hand or a right hand? The answer is no. It's so true that exit device manufacturers use only left-hand reverse and right-hand reverse. Because
so even if you're going a different direction, like I literally had flashbacks to being a kid and going into a gym and pushing the exit device into the room.
Okay. So keep going with that. Where does that path lead to?
It may have been a hallway. This is literally 40 years ago, so. I thought it was going into a gym auditorium.
Okay, so you're in the hallway. You've got an exit device on a door that swings into the gymnasium, right?
Right.
Okay. Once you're in the gym, Cory, what's the path of egress?
I don't remember. Obviously.
No, I can tell you what. I can tell you what it was. That gym was on an outside wall or outside walls, and there are doors on the outside walls with exit devices. So those doors are in the path of egress. Haul through the gym, through outside doors. I guarantee you that once you got into the gym, there was absolutely a way to get out, not through the doors you just came in.
Okay.
So that's why they would be there, because those doors are in a path of egress. But that's a great example.
Okay.
But absolutely,
and it could be one each way, too, now that I'm thinking about it. This is a weird memory, but the right-hand one could have swung in and the left one and coming the opposite way. The other one could have swung out. Is that something that happens?
Probably not. That's double egress, probably not used there.
Okay, that's like hospital use.
There would definitely hospital use, yeah.
If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it.
But you would never have a door swinging towards you in the path of egress, which is how exit devices and Von Duprin got started. There was a fire in Chicago in 1900 something, and
the triangle
door
fire?
swung in. Yeah, I don't
the
recall the name
and...
of it, but there's a video on actually on our website from a Von Duprin video. So the press of all of the bodies pushing against the doors, no one could pull a door open, so the code changed. But
right.
The bottom line is, because our definition of left-hand reverse and right-hand reverse is utterly founded on those doors swing out, you would never order a right-hand or a left-hand exit.
Okay.
And I had this conversation with Jessica earlier this week, and it took me 2 years to really understand those 4 ways a door swing. I mean, it seriously did. So don't, if you're getting it wrong, yeah, it makes sense because it's not easy.
Okay.
Now
that.
with door closers, they never call them left-hand reverse or right-hand reverse, even though you have left-hand reverse door, the same door with the panic device that's right-hand reverse, there's going to be a door closer on that door. So that's the funny thing about door closers, in the sense that they only use left hand and right hand, and you have to know well enough what side of the door you're installing it on, or you have to convey that. So if you have if you've got that same gym door, the door's going to the gym, for sure once you're in the gym and the basketball nets are there and the whole 9 yards, there are probably 2 pair of doors at least, probably on that outside wall of the gym, or maybe 1 pair, whatever. And that door is going to be, again, left-hand reverse or right-hand reverse, and it's got a closer on it, And I'm thinking, if I ordered a right-hand closer, wouldn't you want to put the closer on the pull side of the door to conceal it as best as possible? But so exit devices are a lot easier because it's either or, left-hand reverse or right-hand reverse. So if you're dealing with a job with exit devices, pick one or the other. That's
okay.
all. Those are your only options. And by extension, to hand the door, you always stand on the side of the door where there is or would be a key.
Right. The secured side.
So the secured side. Absolutely. Now, in the situation of being in the gym, you obviously needed to get from the gym back into the hallway. So, there's probably something there. There's probably pull handles and whatever it might be. But in an exit device, if you're on the secured side, which has the key, that's always going to be on the pull side. The second part of what you want to talk about, there's a key on the push side, which is really called the egress side. Egress is the push side of a panic. Ingress is the pull side.
Right.
So there's keys on the egress side. You can have cylinder dogging. You can have alarm bypass. You can have a double cylinder where there's a cylinder in the head case. But, try this. You got a car. Car doors ever swing in? Never.
No.
Perfect example. The key is always on the outside. The driver's side, is always going to be a left-hand reverse. Passenger side is always going to be a right-hand reverse. And when you're speaking to people who don't speak English very well, they can always tell you what side of the car it is. And I think my dad invented that, actually, because that's where I heard it from. So car doors are really great for that, because there is a key, and it's either driver's side or passenger side.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, good analogy.
Yeah. So cylinder dogging. Why would you want cylinder dogging?
That's the question. Yeah, I've heard people reference it. I believe it's just, if I recall, it's locking it open, locking the cylinder open, so to speak, so that you don't have to use the key every time you use it. Is that more or less kind of close?
Okay, so say that one more time.
So my belief is that the cylinder dogging was something that you would use instead of having to use a key every time. You would dog the cylinder open in the morning so that the exit device could be used, and then you would dog it closed at night. or something like that.
Exactly, but you're using cylinder dogging in lieu of a key. Well, cylinder dogging is a key.
Right.
So what you're really doing is you are changing the rights and privileges over which dogging can be accomplished. So, Connie or they're 16, 17, 86, panel line, whatever. You've got a dogging mechanism here, and this is an awful example, but the bottom line is it has a key. It's just that it's an Allen key, and if I put a caliper on that, it's probably 1/8 of an inch. So any Allen wrench that's 1/8 of an inch is going to allow me control over whether or not that door is actually latched. So that means anyone that can walk into a Home Depot can walk out with the key to unlatch that door, to keep it unsecured.
Okay.
And
I was thinking
so
it was like double. You have the key and the dogging to get it open. Okay, good to know.
Great question. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's nice to have conversations like this, because that idea would never have occurred to me. That someone might actually think, I bet the cylinder dogging is like extra security over it. Well, it isn't in the way that you're going to get rid of the hex key dogging or Allen wrench. Everyone's got Allen wrenches somewhere in the garage. So you're getting rid of that, and you're going to put an actual key on there, a Schlage, a Kwikset, whatever. But the bottom line is, with cylinder dogging, you can key that into the system, the key system that the rest of the building operates on, whether it be garden variety, Schlage C keyway, or it be something as high-tech as, a multi-lock MTL 800 that's patent protection till 2039 with alpha springs and 4 different means that you have to try to bypass to get the thing open. So the bottom line is the cylinder dogging is used when you must prevent the casual user from dogging the device. And what dogging the device means is when I push the touchpad in and I turn the 1/8 inch Allen wrench, that door is now no longer bolted, latched. So if I wanted to, and I could do all of that without even opening the door. I could hold the door closed, and then I could push the touchpad in, and I could set the dogging, and no one would know I did it, because the closer is keeping the door in the closed position.
Oh, right.
Later that night, I could come back and go in and rob the place for, all of the root beer barrel candy that they have in stock. So if I want to prevent someone from doing that without authorization, I'm going to put a key on there that you have to have a copy of, or have my key, or I could put a key on there that you cannot copy. So if I have possession of my one key that operates it at all times, we know that you're not going to be able to undog that. Now, in schools, you're always going to have cylinder dogging if you have dogging. You'll either have less dogging, like a fire-rated device, or you'll have cylinder dogging. Or you could have electrified dogging, meaning the dogging function can be achieved via a motor or a solenoid. And the advantage of that is, well, you get dogging, but it's code compliant, because if the fire alarm panel tells the thing to open the circuit, tells the device, the door's automatically relatched. But in schools, you're always going to have cylinder dogging, because children are going to figure out that they can leave that door unlatched immediately. Now, on fire-rated devices, you cannot have dogging. They're inherently going to not have dogging. If you ordered a device, a fire-rated device, there's no provision by which to keep it in the dogged position, unless it was the electrified version, because you can, the fire, that has to be connected to the fire panel, and that's because fire devices must always be self-closing, self-latching. There's one more tenet to it, which I think we've discussed, but on those outside doors that don't have to be fire-rated, yep, you're going to see a cylinder in them, so that the little rats, the little snot-nosed rats like me when I was in 7th grade can't alter the thing, because that's what's going to happen. Now, the other reason people want cylinder dogging is because they're just sick and tired of the hex key wearing out. Because they do, how many replacement dogging mechanisms we sell.
Oh, yeah. Most common item I sell.
Yeah, but the bottom line is the hex keys wear out. So that you put in something more durable like cylinder dogging, and that problem stops. Now, you can most typically convert to cylinder dogging. There are other times you can't. You can field convert Conair devices to cylinder dogging, and probably most other devices. I really can't think of one that you can't, except if it's a fire device and you want to add dogging. I don't think you can do that. It's literally missing so many parts, or enough parts to make it that you if you try to, I think inherently you won't be able to accomplish it. So you can never take a fire-rated device and make it non-fire rated by adding dogging, because you can't add the parts, at least
perfect.
Using normal means.
I was going to follow up on that question about adding something to a fire-rated device, and wouldn't that make it no longer fire-rated?
Yeah, no, they because that device has a label on it. It actually has a fire-rated tag on it that attests, that ensures that this meets the requirements to bear such a label, meaning it's always self-latching. Every time the door is closed, it's latched. Dogging allows you to violate that.
Interesting. Okay. Very good. I think it was actually more than I expected it to be. Like I told you, my expectation of what it was, and I realized I'm going to get my head around, it's actually a little different than I was perceiving it to be. So, it's good to know, because the conversations I've had, I visualized something different, and but then again, that's also usually why I pass them off, because I'm just not sure. So this is good to chew on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, I think I could learn how to do, like rocketry to the moon, if I had enough years and just simply applied myself to the things that I don't know. And I don't literally mean rocketry to the moon, but I mean I could learn how to play sheet music if I studied it long enough and practiced long enough. So if you have two choices. You either continue to pass it off, or you simply get the catalog open. And as I've said, the catalog is your first stop. Your coworkers, and then the factory tech support. The guys at the factory actually enjoy proper questions when you are interested. They're in tech support because they want to teach. And, hey, I don't understand how this works. Can you give me a quick 101 on this? Or don't give me a quick 101. Give me the long 101.
Right.
And the guys at Von Duprin, the guys everywhere are really world class. I can't think of a manufacturer that's really lousy at it when it comes to tech support. But exit devices are very old in the sense of they've been around for well over 100 years. And the rudimentary requirements of an exit device from 100 plus years ago to today are still the same. If the weight of bodies push against the door's got to let go.
Okay.
Which is why they swing out. But I guarantee you, your gymnasium, those doors were in a path of egress. You're gonna get out of the classroom. Your nearest exit, it's really what it's called is the exit discharge. Your nearest exit discharge is going to be through that gym, and there's going to be exit signs. It's going to be through the gym.
Okay.
Next time you're in a school, check it out.
Yeah, I definitely will. I went to the hospital last week for my dad, and I definitely was eyeballing all the entrances and different hardware. And even my dad said, "Where are you doing?" I said, "This is a place where you get to see hardware you don't usually get to see." So
you never get to see. Only in hospitals do you get to see some stuff that are in hospitals. It's really crazy. There's an item called a carry bar, which most hardware people don't know, have never seen, don't know why it's used. But if you get into a situation where you need a carry bar, you're going to realize really quickly why you have to have it.
If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it.
And I only see them in hospitals, and I rarely see them at And it's because that's weird. It's because it's for an unusual scenario when you have a confluence of two different exit devices. And also, when you're looking at the catalog, be mindful to use the language that the manufacturer uses. So if it's an exit device, call it an exit device, not a panic bar. You can call it a panic bar, we all know, but that's slang. It's an exit device, or it's a fire exit device. And it's when you're speaking to the manufacturer's tech support, you'll spend less time being corrected of terminology when you just look at their catalog and realize what it's called and just use that same. Because the catalogs that you're looking in, those books are the product of evolution of scores and scores of decades. They're just, I've got Corbin books from the 19th century. I've got Yale books. So, they're not, the book you look in today is the result of several decades worth of evolution on making a catalog as good as possible. There's a picture of a carry bar. Yeah, so that's in a pair of doors where there is a mortise exit device next in a pair of doors, mortise exit device on the active, and then a what is it? Oh, I know what it is. There's a surface vertical rod or a concealed. This is a concealed vertical rod that you're seeing, and then a mortise exit device, meaning concealed or surface vertical rod doesn't matter. They latch, they bolt at the top and bottom, latch or bolt at the top and bottom. On the other door, there's a mortise style exit device. That could be a 9975 by Von Duprin versus a 9927 or 9947. If you were in your mind's eye, think about a door that has a vertical rod exit device on one door and then a mortise exit device. The mortise exit device is latching in basically in the center of the doors to the edge of the door that's bolted or latched top and bottom. You need to be able to hit either door independently of each other. What happens is, without the carry bar, when you hit the door with the surface vertical rods, you're going to forcibly drag the other door with you. The carry bar allows you to properly push that door with you as you're exiting through the door with the surface vertical rods. I should have taken a picture of the entire opening. This, of course, was in a hospital. I think University of Chicago, actually. Anyway, I should have taken a picture of the entire opening, I realize now. But that's where you're going to see that, and really in no other situation where you'll see that carry bar. Not that I've ever seen. Yeah. Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I'm still having a tough time getting my head around what all those things mean. I mean, I think I do. Mortise exit device, and then the other one's got the vertical rod securing it. But actually, knowing how they'd function and how this differs, I mean, I'm kind of imagining it kind of like a coordinator, just based on the other things that popped up. But having not actually had much experience,
they're used with coordinators. Because this helps the opening cycle. The coordinators help time the closing cycle. And the bottom line is, again, your coworkers are a great source of information, but the manufacturer's catalog, they've already gotten this question 1,000 times today alone. So their catalog is really reflective of the questions that you have. And what's really interesting is when you're studying for the big tests, you know where all the data is coming from? Yep, you guessed it, from the manufacturer's catalog. And it's usually that the information is published here. And in rare instances when it's not published, that's something that you learn through industry experience. And that's learned through going with the manufacturer. All right, check it out. So you just literally, I'm pointing out to you the obvious situation where the very item that you're unsure about is literally in the manufacturer's catalog. Mortise exit device with a surface vertical rod, carry bar goes here. Meaning, this is latched.
Oh, okay.
The active is latched only here. This is a mortise case. It's latched here. the surface vertical rod is only latched at the bottom and at the top. Now, in your mind's eye, you can hit this door and get out, right? You will. This will retract. You're getting out. But if you try that trick over here, you're still bolted here. So that's okay. You're going to get out. But the issue is this. You're latched here from from this door to this door. The carry bar helps push this door open, because the issue that you're going to have is you've got one door, you've got the other door, you've got a latch going, you've got a latch, trying to do this better, here. When those two doors get pushed open, this bolt is not being retracted, but the carry bar, which is mounted here over to here, when this goes open, it'll politely push this one along so the bolt can leave the prep and the strike.
Oh, okay.
That's what the carry bar is for.
Okay.
You never see them. We don't hardly ever sell them, but that's where they're used. But
wow.
But I'm sure I've told you the story in the past where I was a kid. I'd ask my dad, what does sagacious mean? And he would tell me the definition. And then after I asked him 10 times, he's like, here's your dictionary. And, it's great. It's just that's the path of discovery, to say, wait a minute, I don't have to waste somebody's time to find out this answer. It's in the catalog. And it's nice because the catalog's always available to you in different configurations. Surface vertical rod by Mortise, rim by mullion, double egress surface vertical rod, less bottom rod, conceal vertical rod. It's all here. Exits are great. Von Duprin's great. They're all great. Sargent's really great. There's a gal over there that answered a question of mine yesterday. She's just too good, these people.
Awesome. Yeah, to be upfront, I know, like, when a customer calls me, let's just say on an exit device, and they don't give a brand name, like, I'm not sure what catalog to start in. And when...
Start in Von Duprin, because it's the most accessible, because their layout is the same. So you may not know what series to start with, but check it out. The 99 or 98, 99, they're the same device. It's only an aesthetic difference. This is a 98. It's got a smooth case here. Page 2 is always the trim. So device type on page 1, page 2 is the trim. Now we're going to the fire-rated version. Page 1 is the device type, page 2 is the trim. Now we're going to their XP version. It's a different bolt version. Okay, great. Page 1, page 2. Now we're going to the fire-rated version. Page 1, page 2. Now we're going to the mortise exit device. Guess what? Page 1, page 2. Okay. Because what you need to know, Cory, is what's the device? What are all of the options? That's always on page 1. Literally all. What you can do is here. Now, what trims can I do? Yep, pick from these, because that's all you get. So Von Duprin's great. Now, Sargent's also great, because it is also very similar. Their page 1 is all the options. Page 2 is the devices, at least in their price list. The price list for them is what I use. And it is always a 1-2 punch on catalog and price list. The Von Duprin price list I don't like as much as the Sargent price list, because the Sargent price list is laid out very logically for me. But, can I do cylinder dogging on a 9975? Well, is it listed there? Guess what? You can, because it's listed there. That's why it's so awesome. Awesome. Now, you could order a non-fire rated device plus dogging. That means you don't want to dog it open, obviously, for the reason. But dogging's really common. I've used the story a million times. The auto shop, the owner comes in at 6 in the morning. He dogs his device so his clients can come and go all day long. When he goes home, he undogs it, and it's latched. Yeah. Okay.
And what you just described is, the circling back to the beginning of the conversation where I was thinking that cylinder dogging, is in lieu of the key or, locking the door open. So, yeah, interesting.
It's not in lieu of it. It's actually the means by which you're accomplishing it. You're using a standard full-size key of some nature, of some derivative, that's not something that you may just have, in your... regular old toolbox. It's a key, that operates the rest of the facility.
Okay.
You know, the school engineers got the key to dog those devices. Imagine if a student got a hold of that key. Big problem.
Right.
Kids are awful. And I've told you the story where when I was in grammar school, I would kick the door open on the Von Duprin 88.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, it was a Von
I've done
Duprin
that.
88.
I was a teenage kid.
And here we are, spending our life now selling parts for the devices that I, as a child, tried to destroy. Here it is. I have kicked open more than you could ever believe.
Well,
and I never broke one.
I believe you.
Testament how great. And actually, they may have been 44 devices by Von Duprin. I don't know. It could have been 88s, but that was also in the late 70s. They may have been 44s.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because, like, you mentioned that, and of course I've got flashbacks to the same thing. I remember doing, like, flying jump kicks right into those things, because I was 10, 11 years old, and I could do it.
I was shopping in Sears Husky. I was the biggest, we were in 5th, 6th, 7th grade. I was large. My height, I peaked when I was in 5th grade in terms of height. And I would drop the hammer of Thor. My foot would be the hammer of Thor. That door would come open. So here we are. It's poetic.
It is. It's funny to have these flashbacks and literally have to look for parts now and talk about. So that's pretty awesome, actually, because it's ingrained in the part of my childhood. So yeah, there's definitely more info in my head than I actually remember about the use of these. So that's kind of cool. Let's see if I had any other notes here. I know we touched on concealed vertical rod. Why would it seems a little full of a question to ask, but why would somebody want the vertical rod? Why would they not? Is that usually just spec'd based on the architect?
Versus what?
I don't know.
Versus a rim device?
Yes. Like, is there always a concealed vertical rod or a vertical rod, in that type of device or in that type of door entryway?
Well, you can, of all of the different device types, there's rim, there's vertical rod, of which there's concealed and surface, and then there's mortise devices. And in grade 1 exits, regardless of manufacturer, you'll usually see all of those. So the common theme between what you're seeing here is where does the latching or bolting occur? So if you have a single door, you can latch it here. In a single door, you can latch it top and bottom if you want. Multi-point locks or exits for single doors exist. But it has, generally when it's a single door, you'll have a rim or a mortise. You may do vertical rod if you're trying to accomplish multiple points of securing the door. So the back door of Gucci has, now imagine the value of their inventory. Okay. So they have highly secure devices that are latching in 2 or 3 spots. So you can do 3-point locking, 3-point latching with Von Duprin exit devices where it will be a mortise device or a rim device latching here and a hybrid of a vertical rod. So you've got latching here, latching here, latching here. Try to pull that door open. You're going to need, you're going to need a 4x4 to pull the door open with a chain. Now, when it comes to vertical rod, the reason you're kind of using them is when you get to pairs of doors. Because if a pair of doors has to have emergency egress through each door, you need it to be done so independently. So you can't have 2 rim devices on a pair of doors unless you're using a mullion, which really the only time you see is in schools. So the device that you're using becomes a derivative product of what does your application demand. You can't have a pair of doors and 2 rim devices without a mullion. A lot of people don't want a mullion. It's a big steel tube. If it's a single door, you probably don't need vertical rods because it unnecessarily complicates the opening. Now, when it comes to concealed vertical rod, why would you want concealed versus vertical? Well, you win the prize. It's when you don't want anyone to yank on the rods and pull them off the door. You want to hide that hardware. It's a much cleaner look when you can't see the rods. All you see is these devices that look like rim devices. They're really, you see them in schools and hospitals because also when you open the door to 90 degree, the rods are hanging off the face of the door. You're going to whack the daylights out of it with wheelchair traffic coming through. You stick those rods down through the center of the thickness of the door, they're hidden, they're concealed, they're protected. That's why they'll be there as well.
Okay.
So what you end up using is just, it's inevitable. You don't have to know about the different device types to say what best suits the application. Just using common sense, tempered through experience, but ultimately it's common sense.
Right.
You could use a surface work rod on single doors. It's done. Why would someone do it? They want to bolt it top and bottom, more security. That's why. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. There's no reason to do it.
Right.
What's the reason? What's the reason you use a mortise device versus a rim device? The reason is the mortise device latch is not exposed. I can't Lloyd or tamper with that latch. It's a very secure way of securing the door. It's cleaner too, a lot cleaner.
So when we say a mortise device, the actual bar is still elevated off the door, but we're talking about the actual locking mechanism is mortise. Inside.
Yep, absolutely. If there's a mortise cassette, it's like a mortise lock. It is a mortise lock, in fact. You still see all of this.
Right. Okay. That makes it very clear. Okay. Right.
98.
And that's also referred to as a mortise lock device, which is self-explanatory because it tells me just the lock is mortise, not the whole device. That's why catalogs are good, like you just led with. Read the catalog.
Yeah, and it's also just adopting the terminology that's there, because there have been guys over the decades, really, really smart guys that engineered the stuff that also wrote the catalog.
Right.
So it's...
I just have to dive in and learn terminology and start doing it, because like I mentioned, I have an issue navigating the catalog sometimes because I'm not familiar with the terminology, and I just end up reading the same thing over and over. But I know from my fire experience, everything is in those catalogs. Like I would tell customers, let's look at the catalog. What does it say? What does the manufacturer say? It's right in the catalog. So I just got to do the experience and work through it. So
yeah, it's true. The situation is you may not find a reference to carry bar in the catalog. So once you get to a point where you're really, really, really dangerous on your feet, you are going to see. There's no reference to carry bar. There will always be a need to call the factory, and what a lot of people in the industry do, the real superheroes, the real rock stars, is they have their PDFs and they make their notes, and they are maintaining their own evolved catalog with all their secret notes in it. Every time they've called tech support, they've made an amendment to the catalog. Okay. But for you, it's guy calls up, I need an exit device. Okay, don't turn it over to someone else. The next thing is, okay, tell me what you're working on. Well, if he's replacing existing, find out what he has, and then use what he has as you're looking in the catalog to identify it. Then from there, learn about that device. This is not a situation where you're ever going to have time to just read about it. It always has to be a customer's on the phone right now. You're learning about it right now.
Okay.
That's the crucible by which you'll learn this stuff. But they're not turning it over to someone else that is more familiar with it is the first step. Just what do you got? Well, I don't know what I got, because you know what the thing is, the customer may know more than you about it, which could be a good thing. Chances are he knows less than you. At least you know where to find the catalog.
Right.
At least you know where to find the resources. You have access to coworkers. You have access to the catalog. You have access to tech support. So you ain't going to hurt him. You ain't going to make him any worse.
Okay. Very good.
Start with Von Duprin and 99 series. The grade 1, that's the flagship. Then there were just derivatives, 33, 55, 88, 22. Really just, derivatives of it. It's all a basic device, and then infinite ways, near infinite ways to just tweak it. Different strikes, trims, options, stuff that the rods are made of, blah, blah, blah. It's the same darn thing every single time. It's something that's code compliant that's for life safety. It's just, what's the flavor you want to put on it? It's all ice cream.
Interesting. That's a good way to think about it. This is required hardware that, they have to make as easy as possible. So just dive in and do it.
People have said to me, I'm going to wait and see if they're going to really want to do this job. If they're going to want to change the exit device, which isn't currently working. And my thing is, you're going to wait and see if code mandated, legally enforceable hardware is something you're going to make happen. Heaven forbid there be an emergency. Why? Comparatively, few people die in the United States from problems because code is so adaptive. It just is. And you've heard me tell the story about how life safety was maintained in the stairwells of 9/11 because every single one of those fire doors below the floor of impact was operational.
That's right. Okay. Well, good. I think this is enough for me to chew on today. I'm going to. I got my Duper catalog, and I'll start tackling some. So, I appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.